Hello, everybody. Doing something a little bit different today. We'll see how it goes. I just have the one monitor with me, so I'm trying to get everything kind of working. Hey, Steve. Jeffrey, thank you so much for keeping me company as we kind of got things ready and prepped for today's live stream. Like I said, this one's a little bit different. I'm not doing regular presentation type of thing, or even like last week where I did show and tell. Today I'm just doing some deck building because I really want to just open up some packs of second edition and enjoy it, see how it kind of goes. Let me double check that the stream's performing well enough. If someone can let me know, kind of, because I'm also on Wi-Fi, so it's not what I normally do. You might hear the background music for a few seconds. All right, let's see how it kind of goes. It looks a little oh no, it seems to be playing well. All right, cool, smooth, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, for letting me go and letting me know. All right, let's pull this up. I got, as always, I do my little announcements and everything about what I'm talking about today. But first, we want to talk about why I do these. So I'm seeing more and more people doing videos on Genesis, and it's great. I love seeing the community. I love seeing the impact a lot of these people have on helping shape what the future of Genesis is. But one of the things I've gotten a lot of comments on is the fact that once you get in front of a camera, you become stiff. It becomes difficult to enjoy the conversation because all of a sudden people become monotonous. They become a little bit more robotic. So practicing just being loose, being comfortable in front of the camera, moving your arms in a not so weird way, like, but just being there. So that's the big reason why I do these. That's the reason why I do it for myself. The reason why I do it for the community. Oh, that was weird. My computer just started glitching on me. I do it to connect with the community, let you know that I am here as a resource. I actually had a really interesting chat where I was talking to someone on Facebook Messenger through the Genesis page, and at the end I was like, oh, and if you want, you can connect with me. Here's my actual contact information. And they had no idea that they were talking directly to me. And that's something I want to keep as the company grows. I won't be able to do it as much as I'm doing now, but I still want the opportunity to connect with everyone who plays Genesis, everyone who creates content around it, everyone who's talking about the game. I want the opportunity to be accessible as a resource. And then on top of that, I want to talk about my experience building a TCG. There's a lot of different voices in this space, so I just want to be one of those voices. All right, this will get updated for next week, but we've had so many people join us on Patreon. It's been great seeing the support. I really, really appreciate it. If you're a Patreon member, make sure I have your right shipping address. Last thing I want is for you to miss out on the opportunity of getting your promo. Next month's promo is that Pressure Point, the alternate art, which looks absolutely amazing. Again, super psyched to see how the community responds to getting their own copies. And then, yeah, Patreon, it's definitely been a saving thing for the company this past year. And now that we're slowly getting out of COVID, especially in certain areas, it's been, I still appreciate all the support, but make sure first and foremost you're giving support to your local game stores. That being said, special shout out to Andrew, Gunther, Jacob, Steven, Pack Builders, Stevo, Will, Good Time Games, and all the other people who support us on Patreon. I appreciate it a lot. To all the Future Leaguers, I just got the list of everyone who hit all the criteria for Future League participation for the month. Remember, we're going to be starting to do those, you got to fill out the forms when you do your testing. That's going to come into play starting the beginning of next month. So every time you do a testing session, you're filling out the form, and we're using that to track who is eligible for the rewards. Awesome. So this week we're talking about deck building and pack distribution. I have to talk about something lessons related, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. I think as I get through certain cards, I'll be talking about why we put these at certain rarity and why we designed the packs the way we did. All right, so let's get into it. Let me switch over the camera so I'm able to see the chat, and let's see what we got here. All right. Just need to move over to another chair. Hopefully the sound didn't get adjusted. No, it looks good. You can see the chat. Everything's good. We got kind of one giant source of light. Let's try to adjust that and not be in the way of the camera itself. All right, so my goal for today is we're going to be opening up 8 packs of Welcome to JLR 2nd Edition. And basically what I wanted to talk about is if you're a brand new player just getting into the game, does this give you enough support, right? All right, so Jeffrey is saying even just these types of open chats feel accessible no matter how many people are watching. Yeah, I've been noticing that a lot too. Even if we're not seeing people come to the live streams, it would be nice to have more people at the live streams engaging in the actual chat itself. But it's okay for me that that's not happening because I know that people are coming back to these chats afterwards or to these videos afterwards and telling me that it's been great, a lot of support, a lot of resources for them. So regardless, I'm going to continue doing them, and that's why I feel like no matter how altruistic your initiatives are that you're trying to do in life, find a reason to do them for yourself as well, because that way when things aren't going well or you don't get a lot of participants or things you're not seeing the support that you want to see, you still have a reason to continue doing them outside of that. So no matter how altruistic, how generous, how caring your motives or your goals are, have some level of selfishness to it, because that way you can drive yourself even when there's no other reason to. All right, we got a lot of packs to open up. Let's do this quickly. I've been watching a lot of pack openings for Pokemon during COVID, and I love how people have the system of how to open up packs for Pokemon. So if you want to know for 2nd edition, it's the back 4 cards going to the front. So that'll give you your commons, followed by your uncommons, your starter, and then your rares. So that TTS guy really picked up his game. Looks so real. Yeah, not tabletop today. And I mean, I always like doing this whenever I get a new set. I just like opening up packs. So forgive me if I do that. All right. I know we've seen a few people do some pack openings. Have you been out watching those videos, seeing what people are getting and their reactions to the set as a whole? All right, we got a Bolt Shot. That's a good place to start. So definitely seeing some good Bellum rares. You got Guardian Balance, Substrike, Bolt Shot, Vorpal Blades, Hegemon, and Rage Gorilla. So part of the reason why, let's talk about the 2 rares per pack, because this is something that I know a lot of games, they're actually pulling back on the number of rares they want to see per pack, or shifting kind of the rarity spectrum for the cards. We actually wanted to lean into it and give you 2 rares per pack. And a big reason behind that is it's the balance between accessibility and collectability. This has been a topic that I feel I've been talking about quite a bit. All my cats here staring at me, wanting to know what these are. You want to look at the Genesis cards? She's sniffing at the pack right now. So one thing that I was learning as I was designing the game. Where'd that uncommon go? Okay, so 4 commons, 4 uncommons. I got Odara, the mix, Chrono Walker, Call to the Bones. Okay, So 2 rares. When we started running the numbers on the amount of cards that were required to play competitive Genesis, we were realizing that it was just way too difficult for the players to get the meta relevant cards and enough of them to make it accessible for a lot of players. Like right there, getting Combust before was extremely difficult. Now being able to get it as an uncommon, I don't know if you can see it, allows for a lot more meta relevant decks for players, and it just makes I think the gameplay experience a little bit more fun. Hey, we got a foil for Earth Pillar. Put that right there. I got sleeves, Lightless, and Malfeasance. Please tell me your cat's name. So, no, my cat, she's awesome. Her name's Ethel. She has a super old lady name, which I love. Got her because my old apartment, several years back, we had a mice problem. And I was talking to the landlord, and he gave us like the small little mouse traps that you can use. And then, I have sleeves. And then we upgraded to like better mouse traps, and those they were working, but the issue there was we were catching too many mice, and we needed a way for them to go away forever. So talking to the landlord, and he's like, "Why don't you just get a cat?" And we're like, "You know what? That sounds like a good idea." So just got a cat, and Ethel's been with me since. Amazing companion, and also has been really good at keeping like just a lot of things in control when it comes to the household. So I'm definitely enjoying that. All right, let's see what we got in our last pack. I think I grabbed another uncommon and dropped it into common slot. Yeah, 1/. So the goal here is, what I also kind of wanted to experiment live here, was the analysis that if you were brand new to the game and you just bought 8 boost packs, could you make yourself a deck that was fairly reasonable? And what I'm seeing right off the bat, you got the challenge that you don't have a lot of champions, but the nice part is there's a good variety. You at least got most of the affiliation combinations. You're still missing Sahas, but we have 2 Vishud, Ajna, 2 Vadhis, and then the rare distribution. So it would be really unfortunate right now if just like most of my rares were in Sahas. We have Thymos, there's our Bellums up here, Axon, Thymos, Chaos, Chaos, Chaos. Axon. So pretty good distribution when it comes to the rares. 4 Bellum, 4 Axon, 2 Thymos. So almost 4 of each, but then the Lightless came in and 1 extra Chaos. It's always so easy to go towards Axon Bellum at the beginning, I always find. I don't know if other people find this too. But, I mean, the moment you pull Bolt Shot, it becomes really hard to deny going into Bellum there. So, at least on the rare side, there's enough of distribution that you're not feeling bad if you're going in one direction or the other. And you do get a good bulk because, like, look, I opened up 8 packs. I got 8 rares that I'm using, which is great. 50% of your rares are usable. That's exactly what you want to see when you're buying packs. That even if one of your rares, just say you are playing Raha and you pull like Ogoy or something, well, at least you have a pretty good chance that your other rare is still going to be playable for you. So this is one thing that I really like about second edition, is the fact that it does make deck building a lot more accessible to brand new players coming into the game. They get the opportunity to explore a lot of different strategies that I think when you only get 1 rare per pack and 3 uncommons. So one thing that you may not have noticed, we did increase the amount of uncommons. We dropped dramatically how many commons are coming in a pack. But the thing is, after a while, with enough commons, you get everything you need. After enough packs, you don't find yourself at a point where you're really starving for more commons. And if you are, they're a lot easier to get on the secondary market than rares or uncommons. Alright, so I'm probably going to run all my rares just because there's no bad rares in the set, which is another kind of very enjoyable thing. I think having a second pair of eyes who really took the game from, who played the game competitively and was really able to nitpick at me and be like, hey, no, it really doesn't merit being a common or uncommon or a rare, and being in the right spots. All right. It's so much easier to start playing with Nubia as a champion. I will always pick Raha first. I like playing with Raha a lot more as a champion. So, playing aggressive fighter, we are able to be 8, 5, 7, 7, 6, 6, 8, 7. You will find a tendency that rares are on the higher chi level. It's just because higher the chi level, there's more room for complexity on cards. And it makes it that, yeah, those are just the cards that tend to be more rare. Sorry for the crinkling. Just getting these boost packs out of the way. Alright. So it should be the same thing on the uncommons. About 50% are usable. Not necessarily like great cards to have into your deck, but they are at least cards that you can play. And I like that part about having the 4 affiliations. That's the one thing about adding in the 5th affiliation in... oh, look, we had an Epic Chrono Walker. That's something that I just completely missed. That's always a nice pull. Ooh, Malicious Persuasion. That's a really great card. I love having that in the uncommon. So let's talk about some cards that got downshifted. I know I talked about these with in my live stream with Alex when we were talking about all the cards that got downshifted. But here's 3 great examples of cards that got downshifted from rares down to uncommons: Malicious Persuasion, Fire Pillar, and Yamaduta. Again, this comes down to a level of collectability versus accessibility. Since these aren't cards that are for the collectors, then and their meta relevance are really dependent on how many of them you can get into your timeline. Because if you just have one Yamaduta, one Malicious Persuasion, it's got to make a little bit of an impact, but not enough for you to understand why they are as good as they are. You really need to start running 5, 6, 7 of them for you to really feel the impact. And same with Fire Pillar. It's so essential for the fire deck. So the fact that they were in the rare slot was just hindering the card from being as good as it should have been. So definitely more Fishhood uncommons, which is unfortunate. But sometimes that's just the luck of the draw. At least it's not significantly noticeable, the difference. I guess you can't really see it off camera here. But the difference is about 6 or 8 uncommons that would not be accessible. So one thing I would be looking at is if you're a brand new player just getting into the game, sometimes just having summons are useful. So something like Makara normally wouldn't get played in a Raha deck. That's fine. It's still just a decent summon to have. All right, sorry, Jeff. I just saw your message. Having a cat helps keep house neat and tidy as well. If you don't, they'll find a way to knock everything on the floor or tear attack. So one of the things that I really like about our cat is that she has a tendency of not jumping on furniture very much. So I don't know. She's just very enjoyable to have around. I've never had a day where I did not want her around. She gets a little annoying, but everything gets a little annoying at some point. She's adorable through and through, and I'm always happy to have her in my life. All right. So we were just talking about Downshifting Combust is a great example of that. Great card. If you have one of them, it's definitely worthwhile to have it, but it's one of those cards that if it's for your deck, it's really going to make a big impact when you start having five or six of them compared to just the one, right? How do you count your cheese? I'm just asking for anyone who's out there. What's your strategy on determining, like, is your deck balanced? Oh, looks like the internet streams. I'm going to do some of this up. So I do this process. I drop everything into the cheese lots. Live interrupted. Oh no, did I lose the internet? Sorry if things are a little choppy. It looks like the internet's kind of coming in and out a little bit, but hopefully it recovers. Again, the difficulties of being on Wi-Fi. So I was asking, how do you go about counting your chi on your cards? Do you have like a particular strategy on what you do? So also one thing that I've been noticing here is like for the uncommons and rares, I usually just run all of them. And I start becoming more and more picky the lower the rarity is. But I think lower the rarity, it's also more situational cards or just situationally bad cards if they're not in the right deck. So higher rarity just means that it also, these cards are a lot more playable just in any timeline regardless of what your strategy is. I like Sidestep being shifted down to common. I'm pretty sure it was uncommon before. That definitely makes the card a lot more useful. Secret, great card. We'll see how. I'm seeing a lot of low cheese summons. So the nice part is, especially when we look into drafting, you're gonna get your lower chi cards just more from your commons or uncommons, which means that you're gonna have higher chances to making sure that your timeline won't be unbalanced when you're starting to build out. All right, let's see how this looks. Cat's going crazy. Andro, great card. Arcane Shield could be useful. Left hook's always useful. Diabolic Roar. So I love running at least one flight in a deck. They're one of those cards that if you just have one of them at the right moment, right time, it can really help pivot the game for you and put you in a situation that your opponent's not really expecting you to be able to be in. So there's been a lot of times where my opponent would drop, a random creature like Makara or whatever in between us and think, okay, I'm now blocking your way. You have no way of getting to me. And then at the last moment, I dropped flight and then fly over that creature. And those type of strategies really can help turn a game around. All right. We got ourselves some good Lochi. Most of my commons and uncommons are Lochi, except for this Thunderstruck. That's the only one I've been able to pull so far that's on the higher end. Quick Shot's a good one-off technique. Got some good 3T summons in there. Diabolic Roar. I want to play with Diabolic Roar a lot more because purely from looking at it, it's a lot more powerful of a card than most people give it credit for. So see how that goes. All right. So this is how I go about balancing chi. All right. Let's see what Steve says. Usually grab 3 to 5 copies of every card I'm thinking about putting in a deck. Then count up chi and trim down, way down usually, and adjust some more power cards in. It's extremely non-efficient, but sometimes works for me. So I think everyone has their own like practice method. I'm going to show you what I do, and you can go from there and see what works best for you. But basically, I know that at the end of the day, every card has to balance out to an average of 5. So every time I grab an 8, I'm going to look for a 4 that I really want to balance out that 8 with. So I'm probably going to go with, well, the Wind Slashes are cards I definitely want to get into my timeline. And then on the 3 chi slot, I think there's a lot of good option. I think the Shutdown is probably the most valuable. So 3, 4, that's 7 plus 8, that's 15 on 3 cards. That's now balanced out. So I know that's 15 points there. And do the same thing with the Substrike. So I want to get that Wind Slash like I was talking about before. Get this Combustion. So these are now all balanced out. 15, 15. Now we got some 7s. So 7. Bolt Shot, obviously. Let's balance that out with, let's get the Diabolic Roars in, because that was something I was talking about before. Guardian Balance, we'll get a second Diabolic Roar in. Hegemon will balance out with Left Hook, get some aggression in. So that's 6. So if we take these 4 plus these 6, these are now a pile of 10 cards that are fully balanced out to come out to an average of 5 chi. Now we're at these 2 plus Thunderstruck and another 3. So let's look at, we're going for the Left Hooks. Actually, this time I'm going to go with Fire Cub. 6s you balance out with 4s. So we have Chrono Walkers. I love the Goliath Sphinx Eaters. That's definitely one of my favorite 4 chi summons. So we're at 4, 8. Let's get this Mystical Spear in. It can definitely kind of change things up if players aren't seeing that coming. So now we're at 10. We're 20 cards into our timeline, and we're currently fully balanced out. So we don't need to worry, are we going to hit that 250? As long as we keep with this method, we should always stay at least on chi or below. So let's grab the Chasmodon. Because Chasmodon requires a summon to beckon it, let's get a summon that we know is probably going to die. The Andro. Breath of Jalara. We've got a lot of summons running in this timeline. That's, I think, the Flight. I was talking about that earlier. Hurricane Sweep. Let's get this Searing Light. And then 5 Gs are self-balancing. So we just need to get this out to 10 cards. So these ones. Oh, yeah. So 10, 20, 30, 40. And now we just need 10 more cards. Nice part is we only have 5s, 4s, and 3s. So we can put in any 10 of these and we're going to stay under 250 points. So let's grab these. Is there anything here that does water damage? I don't see anything. So let's grab the Arcane Shields, because I think there's enough AoE cards to be afraid of. Let's grab these 4, I think. So Psychic Assault gives us good aggression, and the Madness trigger is really fun. Searing Light definitely helps with that. This allows us to stay as a fighter. These allow us to have some support summons. And the Makara with 4 health means that it can take some damage without collapsing right away. And then when in a pinch, you got the Arcane Shields. So what I like to look at usually at this point is a division on like how aggressive my deck is versus like how many summons am I running. Some other criteria, but I think that kind of wraps it up for our time for deck building. Because, oh no, we're only at 40 cards. So I'm 10 cards under. So are you able to build a timeline with 8 packs of 2nd edition? You can. I mean, you're going to end up putting in a lot of cards that maybe you're not particularly fond of. So I do have another 10 cards here I can look at. You got the Monther, the Cattail Tigers. Those are pretty good. They just require a little bit more strategy and a little bit more like pre-planning. I don't know if it's necessary for me to run these 4 aura summons. They're useful. The teleports definitely could have been in. River Nye with the amount of summons I'm running. So we got 6, 7, 8. And let's see if we can find 2 more cards that could have gone into this timeline. Got Power Punch. And another Flight. So Ra has a decent amount of aura. That's part of the reason why I'm not a huge fan of running the 4 aura summons with her. If I was running, I don't know what champion I usually run those with. Malik I like. Well, I guess Ra does have a lower end. But if I was doing a sealed tournament and I wanted to run Rain, that would definitely be a champion who I'd want to do that with. Because then you don't feel bad if you're just discarding them to her Living Shadows. And if you need them for just the turn counters, they're also very cheap for her in that regard. The extra 2 aura over time does matter. It depends how many of them you're running, but if you're running them as frequently as I am, I think we got 8 of them in here. I mean, that's 16 aura that you could have used for something else, even as far as using like a teleport, right? That's 13 aura. So I would hold on to those for the right champion. It depends on how many summons you're playing to beckon. But of course, no deck is really good until you actually start playtesting with it, and that's a whole other situation. So, quick deck building thing, and a few tidbits on some lessons learned when it comes to pack distribution. Let me switch this camera back around so you can see my face, and I can kind of just wrap it up. All right, I am back on screen. So some things I've learned in 2nd edition when it comes to pack distribution is going back to basic kind of statistics and remembering how some of those numbers kind of work. The idea of if each of your rarity pool piles just has, for example, 30 cards, then when your rares, you're pulling 2 rares per pack, then it'll take you 15 packs to get every single one. But if you're pulling 8 commons, then it's going to take you less than 4 some odd packs until you grab 1 of every single one. And that's what rarity really gets defined of. And each game, the rarity's got to mean a different thing. So a rare in Genesis is actually much more common than a rare in a game like Magic. And I think this is important stuff for players to understand when it comes to purchasing product and how much they need to get off the bat. That's why I was pretty confident that with 8 packs, we were able to get enough cards to build a complete timeline for any champion we chose. I just went with Raha because, Bolt Shot. It's just such a pretty card. I might as well build a timeline around that. But if you wanted to go with Idris in that case, you had Lightless, you had a lot of Chaos Rares, you had some Thymos Rares. There were good combinations across the spectrum. And now I have enough spare cards to build an Idris deck as well. Then that's the other kind of nice part is once you split it in half, the other half can be used to build the other type of deck. So I definitely learned a lot about how to determine the rarity of cards and how there's this other clause of no matter how complex. So usually complexity adds increases a card's rarity in our books, along with so complexity, openness, which is what is its potential of breaking the game in the future, or what is its potential of interacting with cards negatively in the future. These are things that increase the rarity of a given card. But one thing that actually should drop the rarity is how many copies of the card is required for it to be functionable in the game. And that's something I think our game suffers from more than most other games, where there are certain cards that when you're running one or two of, Maduda is the one that comes to my mind, Malicious Persuasion, Kabas, they're good cards, but once you start running a lot of them, that's where they really start to shine. And we want to give those cards the opportunity to have create the impact in the game as they want. So putting those cards at rare definitely hurt the growth of the game. And now we have an analytic that we have in our QA document that actually offsets that card and drops its rarity. Now it drops it by a certain amount. So if it's supposed to be it's like a top tier rare, and then we mark it as like this bulk type of card, then it drops a little bit, but not so much that it will lose its rare status. And that's a whole other thing about rarity and whatnot. But I think second edition was a good experiment on what it means to be, how we should approach redesigning sets and other packs. All right. That's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the chat, or if you're watching this later, leave a comment and I'll come back to these later and let you know the answer to your questions. Upcoming events, Meta Mondays every Monday, 8 p.m. Will is doing a great job at coordinating that team. I've been seeing more and more of that information just being spread around. And last time I talked to Will, he was saying that there's not a lot of people who come and participate and play, but there's a lot of people who come into the chat, talk, watch the gameplay. I encourage you to come out of your shell a little bit and play, because that will help with that. But whatever you're doing, I know Will and that community is super grateful for that. Tuesday, we have Exploring the Library. Don't know what our topic's going to be. Usually Alex throws something at me at the last moment, and I just run with it, because I think he gets an opportunity here to really question me on my skills and my abilities as the person who created this game. Just because I created it doesn't mean I'm like that I have the answers to everything. And I think that pause kind of exemplified that a little too well. So having an opportunity where he challenges me is also really, really great. These game design talks, the lesson learned, I'm going to continue doing them. I know there's some people who came and joined me, and I'm really grateful that you're here and that you're leaving comments in the chat. I will continue to do these until it gets to a point where I just can't do them anymore because my time and my schedule is too full. But hopefully we don't get to that point anytime soon. And then this evening, there's Future League testing happening at 7 p.m. And then on top of that, I know new videos are coming out from different streamers. And hopefully I don't want to spoil it. I know I'm scheduled to do something later this evening with someone. I'm hoping that's a live stream, but if not, then I don't want to get your hopes up too high. Town Hall happening on Monday at 6 p.m. That's going to be a lot of fun. Come join us for that. And then second edition, yes. Last week I couldn't announce it. We found out around like an hour or so after the live stream was done that we could finally announce the release date. And I was like, okay, I couldn't say it during the live stream. But I can say it now. Second edition coming out August 20th. If you haven't heard yet, go watch the videos. They're everywhere. And finally, next topic. I don't know what my next topic's going to be. I know on the 13th, a streamer named Flesh and Bones is going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about what it's like creating content from his perspective. And I want to really kind of dig into some of those questions of how his experience has been, how have things changed, and why he does what he does. So I know that's going to be happening on 13th. As for next week, if you have an idea for a topic, great, send them my way. If not, I have more things to add to this list that I would like to dig into. Maybe we'll talk about rarity a little bit more. I know I've talked about that in the past, but I think digging into all the different sections and why they matter, and this idea of subjective subjective and objective analytics behind determining the value of something. That is everything for right now. Yes, only a few weeks away until second edition launches. Thank you so much for joining. I love that there's so many people of this community that are doing a lot for us, and I want to be able to give back to them. I think something I will be doing more often is just a promotion for all the content creators and giving you the opportunity to link into their channels and talk to them and watch their videos. They're so great, and I'm so grateful for everything that's happening. For years, I've been creating this content just by myself, and now we actually have a bunch of people who are helping us create more content, and it feels really good. So thank you to all of our partners. Thank you to all our Patreon members, and thank you for joining me tonight, and I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.